Welcome to this replay of one of the sessions from the Council of Competitive Intelligence Fellows 2022 Summit, Foresight Now, Harness the Future. We would like to thank our gold sponsors, Aurora WDC, Crayon, and Tyson Hines for their support. We would also like to thank our executive sponsors, the Business Intelligence Source, Commentelli, and Knowledge Inform. Please enjoy this session replay.
What a day. I've got notes all over my whiteboards here. I'll be reading these for days, I'm pretty sure, digesting this. We started off with anticipating the future, and we talked about how we have fundamental communities out there playing in this instead of strategists, addressing our blind spots. We have the fourth age and ethical issues and complex technologies that are coming to us, and we need to really look at ourselves when we want to convince our leaders. That's it in a nutshell, but I want to go through the details of the things I pulled out here, starting with Jan Oliver Schwartz. He kicked it off and talked about business war games and how much he used those. He talked about his Swiss Air example and how they had different takeaways, and leaders versus the stakeholders had different takeaways. And then he talked about 4 or 5 things at the end there. One of them really struck with me, and I saw this theme throughout everything we talked about, is we need to anticipate the future, not just predict it, right? And that reminded me of a quote. My favorite quote when it comes to doing things like scenario analysis, prediction, comes from Peter Drucker, and he says, predicting the future based on extrapolating from the present is like driving down a road at night while looking out the back window. And then he's often said, let's not just forecast the future, let's anticipate it. And so Jan talked about multiple scenarios, using multiple scenarios, really stressing it out, testing your strategy. That's probably a good use of doing scenario analysis. It's a good way to initiate your strategy and also preparing for a crisis. And then we transitioned over into the next panel discussion, and we had some great panelists here, and most of them gave us a insight into how probably our European friends do planning and scenario analysis and forecasting a lot more than we do here in the States. So I think we can learn a lot from them. So Gary had talked about using a lot of data, and going out there and not so much intuition, using data in your scenario analysis. Oliver talked about product development and how you can use foresight in product development. Paul talked about strategy at the board level. I thought this was a good insight that the board level may not have the same frame of reference as us. We may be thinking 10, 15 years, and some of the board members are thinking, hey, I'm going to be out golfing in 3. So they have a different perspective, right? Use scenarios of forecast. Daria brought up co-creation. I really like that thread that she talked about. Use co-creation. Get your stakeholders involved. Then we moved into the future is emerging, and why are we blind to it? Blind spots. Oh, what an intriguing panel that was, led by Cynthia. I mean, it was there was a lot in there. We start off with Christoph, and he was interested in the institutional and cultural parts of the society. He sees that foresight is embedded in 4 things. Basically, he talked about distortions. We know there's a lot of biases out there, but he centered it on the form of motivational biases linked to the political learnings of leaders, and then organizational silos that overlap and play a role in more blind spots for us. So there you go. We just need more blind spots, right? Organizational culture that creates distortion and blind spots to anticipate forecast, and our socialization in political structures, especially within democracies, blind us to what is happening in other countries. So we have a lot of things to work with here. I think Jacob had some good ideas as well. Now, so he came from the World Bank, and he's more of a practitioner, not an academician. So he had a slightly different focus on this. he talked about the organizational behavior stuff, the famous Systems 1 and Systems 2 thinking, and that we probably need to take a look at that very carefully when we start doing our analysis. And then looking at things at the context of the environment, not just looking at things as a whole, but what's the context of the environment that has on those people that we may be drawing situations about or drawing scenarios about. And then make sure we account for the social norms. We've not been looking at how people are behaving around us. And that's so true. The way people, we probably adjust our behavior if we're on our own versus when people are around us, right? And then a lot of cognitive biases out there are simply things that we're not being aware of. Right? And Paul referenced a book out there about scenarios for success. Excuse me. And Christopher cautioned us about overconfidence in our foresight and having data. That is great. But look at other aspects in the guiding model that we need to make organizations learning organizations. And that is a huge thing. A great book about the learning organization, the fifth discipline. Peter Senge outlines that in great detail. One of my favorites to go back to try to understand what a learning organization is, and then going in with that in mind. And I think when we finished up that, we moved into another fireside chat, the ethical future, with Terry Thiel and Eric Johnson. Very in-depth layout of the different ages that we're going through and how we got to where we are today. And taking a look at this fourth age future. Now, I think this was probably one of the scariest ones that we were presented with today, because it talks about a future where there's going to be a lot of new technologies and new things coming out, and they're coming out faster than we're able to define the ethics that go along with it. And if we're analysts and we're working in that situation where we got to collect ethically, how can we do that when there's no norm for those ethical considerations for those technologies? I mean, it's great that we have these technologies. Technologies are not bad, they're not good, but it's how you use them is where you can cross the line. But we probably need a whole new dialogue in how to deal with that stuff. So Terry, great book that he has. I highly recommend it. It'll go through a lot more of this. And then we ended up, my mouse is gone, but that's all right. I'll come back over. I'm going through all my notes here. I've got so much to look at here. Why does leadership reject foresight? And I think Jason turned the tables on us. He said, you know what? It's your job to go out there and present the foresight so your boss understands it. And so it's really trying to understand who you're talking to and how best to convince the boss. At the end there, very end there, we're talking about likability. Probably the best book on likability out there is still Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. There's a skill set in there, and one of the key things is like what Jason brought out is likability. Take an interest in people, use their first name. Look them in the eye, right? But there's a lot of things out there. So I'll just relate to you a couple things that I've seen that kind of fit into this over the years when I've had to go in and brief the boss, right? And basically what we always try to do is take in all that data, take in all that information, use logic, right? We're gonna convince them. We're gonna go in there with the logic, and in a lot of cases, we have to probably deal with things from the heart versus the mind, right? We want to touch that heart of that person. So you got to read your leadership correctly. I've seen two leaders, at least two leaders, do this very well, where they don't want to influence the outcome of something, influence the outcome of a study. So what they do is they're the last ones to speak. When you walk into a situation and everybody's around the table and you're doing a study and everybody's there, right? They're the last ones to speak, because they know if they come out first, some of those people are going to have a tendency that I'm going to tell the boss what they want to hear. First instance that I had that with that was with General Lowe at Air Combat Command, and had to go and brief him on stuff a couple of times. And I noticed he waits until the end. And actually, he'll go around the table and ask other people that didn't talk for their input. That's a great technique. And the other one I saw do that was Kathy Warden when I was at the Northrop Grumman. She would refuse to say anything, ask questions until the end. Even her questions, she says, I'm going to wait till the end to ask my questions because you don't want to influence us, right? So when you look at that, that's a learning environment. That's an acceptable leadership that they want you to come in and work with them, and so you can convince them. So that's a lot of stuff over the last today. I mean, it's tons of notes to go through. I hope that this has been a great experience for everybody. It has been for me. I'm going through the process of trying to understand forecasting better. You can always learn more. And I think we had a rich set of talks and some challenging concepts out there that we're going to have to explore more and deal with. And so that's about it, folks. I think that's a lot to cover in for today. And with yesterday's stuff, I think this summit has been a home run. So appreciate you all, though. And on behalf of the CI fellows, I appreciate everybody that came here today. And then their questions that you asked were outstanding. I captured a lot of the comments, excellent comments out there. And so it looks like it's happy hour time. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. So I'm going to let you all go. All right. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
We hope you enjoyed this session replay from the Council of Competitive Intelligence Fellows 2022 Summit, Foresight Now, Harness the Future. We also hope that you'll join us for future educational programming that advances the field of competitive intelligence and adjacent fields. If you'd like more information about future events, the Fellows, or our competitive intelligence community of practice, please visit the link in our Vimeo profile. Thank you so much.